Yay! So while I decide on which book to start next, I started reading David Sedaris, and I don't know if I'm going to stay that route or if I'm going to read the new Christopher Moore, which we found at Barnes & Noble and looks really awesome. So until then, we're going to talk about the Dark Tower series. How did you get into the series?
I saw it on a bookshelf at a friend's house and was making fun of how much Stephen King he had. So I am not a fan of Stephen King on the whole. And he went into this long, inebriated rant about how amazing the series was and how it evolved over time and how cool it got and how weird it got and then how cool it got again and then how boring it got. And
that sounds about accurate.
Yeah. So he gave me the first one and he sent me home at 11 o'clock that night. And I tore through the first book in a few hours and drove back to his house and woke him up and demanded the second and third book.
I didn't have that experience at all. The only reason I read any of it is because I thought I was going to prove him wrong and finish the entire series in 2 months.
Something like that.
It was 2 months, which if you've seen the books or read the books, you know is a ridiculous feat. So I don't know what I was thinking. I was really just kind of angry.
Yeah, no, you had an ego problem, and we learned that you don't have an ego problem anymore.
Well, we learned that I just read too slowly. But beyond that, it's a lot of work to read Stephen King. Particularly these. It really is. Because past The Gunslinger, it's all super convoluted.
No.
Yes, it is.
No.
It's very much convoluted.
Pretty straightforward.
There's absolutely nothing straightforward about the series at all. So I read them trying to prove him wrong, and I did not prove him wrong.
Right.
But I do...
you did learn how hot jalapenos are.
I did. Because it was a full-on bet, and I lost the bet, and I had to eat a jalapeno.
It was awesome.
I can link the video for that somewhere. I'll do it. What was your favorite book and your least favorite book?
I have two favorites. I like the first one. I think it could have stood alone. I think it did stand alone for a long time, and then he got antsy and started writing again.
Antsy. He got full of himself.
Carrie happened, and then Cujo happened, and then he was like, oh, I can totally revisit this because it was so vague. I also like the fifth one, Wolves of the Kala. I thought it was the most stereotyped story in one. You know, it had a decent opening. It gave you just enough backstory to understand what was happening. It had a really, really good plot, you know, with a huge arc in the climax like you would expect out of a decent standalone book. And then a cliffhanger ending that left you wanting to start the sixth one immediately.
The eyes are there.
Sorry.
Slinger.
I did not like Wizard and Glass.
Yeah, that one. I don't remember anything about that. The only thing I remember is them outside what would be the Emerald City.
Mm-hmm.
But then nothing else. They like hinted at little things about the Wizard of Oz, but they had no consequence to anything that happened in the story. They were just randomly put in there. And it was really aggravating. My favorite is The Gunslinger, hands down. I could have stopped the entire series with The Gunslinger and would have been just fine. It was perfect. To me, there was enough implication with all of the stuff that he was vague about to give you that imagination that he created in the others, but it was just too much stuff. Like, he gave you just enough of what he wanted to do with this world and let you kind of build the rest of it, which I liked. Plus, again, I really liked the Western feel of it. The description of Roland drinking soda for the first time is one of my favorite things I've ever read. It's really fun and something you don't ever think about, drinking soda your whole life.
I'm realizing you're going to have to have read the series in order to understand half of everything we're talking about.
That's okay.
Okay.
You'll just read the series.
Go read the series.
Go read the series.
But not the fourth book because it sucks.
Take 9 months out of your life
At
and
least.
read the series. My least favorite book was either The Wastelands, which was the one with Blaine in it,
Yeah.
or Wolves of the Kala. Except the part in Wolves of the Kala where Roland does the dance. That's really cool.
The Kamala.
Yeah. You can't talk about the Dark Tower series without talking about the ending.
Sure.
Let's talk about the ending first.
Sure.
Without the coda.
Okay. It was perfect. It was just fun.
Yeah.
It started with him by himself. It ended with him by himself. I didn't think it needed anything else. Like you were saying with the first book, it didn't need that explanation. It just, he went into the door closed, he finally reached everything that he had sacrificed everyone for.
And it didn't matter that we didn't know what was behind the
Well,
door.
he was right in the coda. You know, you want to know what happened. I put the book down for 3 full days, and every time I was at home, I would just stare at it on the bookshelf. I'm not mad that I did read it. I'm just mad that he put it there in the first place.
But he only put it there in the first place because he got so much hate mail.
I mean, you went 30 years, almost 40 years making this series, and you get to the end and you got peer pressured into writing 16 extra. I'll let you make the choice, and you're going to hate me for the rest of your life.
Huh.
And I haven't read a Stephen King book since.
I bet he thought that way.
He is Stephen King.
Never thought of it that way. And if you hadn't read the coda, it was all packaged up neatly, and you had lots of closure, and you could have just put it away. My favorite character was probably Jake or Susanna. Except Susanna scared the hell out of me for most of the series. Jake was good because he grew into the man he was going to be, even though Roland killed him first time.
Since, you know, Stephen King just basically writes different parts of his ego into the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just wrote himself into the story.
Even Susanna wasn't. Oh, he did.
Yeah,
like
for
400 pages. They just converse with
400
Stephen King.
pages.
Screw meta. Worst character.
Worst character.
Don't say Stephen King.
Well, I mean, for real. We're going to talk about Cuthbert for a second.
Because Cuthbert was awesome. Or Cuthbert.
Yeah, I would
C
say
name
Cuthbert.
with the bird skull.
Cuthbert.
The guy was fantastic. He was a smartass. He was a brilliant fighter. He was always the one that you relied on. He was trying to mess with everyone all the time. The bird skull, he just kept knocking on the bird skull. Every time someone would get cocky, he's like, remember, killed a bird once.
That's his claim to fame.
Yeah. Hey, don't mess with me, I kill birds. And everyone took him as a joke until the end of that whole like flashback sequence. And then in like 3 shots, he ruins 5 people's day. And then,
Are we done talking
Yeah,
about
we're
the
done.
tower? Okay, we're done talking about the tower now.
we're going to go night-night.
If you are enjoying drinks with us, which you should all the time, even when it's just me, enjoy a drink. So until next time, cheers. It's
Booze!
a cheer.
Oh, do I?
Cheers.
Beer and books, beer and books. Everybody loves to drink beer and read books.
Oh, he's like Doc Holliday. He's like Val Kilmer in Tombstone. That's who he was. Except he didn't have tuberculosis and doesn't end up dying in a bed
Well, yeah,
with Kurt Russell holding him.
sure.
Years later, he sees Alan Rickman on the red carpet. And he's like, didn't I throw you from a building?
Yeah, the watch. I remember.
Yeah, I do know you. Pretty sure I punched you. What was limo driver's name?
Argyle.
Argyle.
Who was your best character from Die Hard? Argyle.